And they're doing that in Syria. That's what they're doing and say, hey, we got to go into Syria because Putin's with Assad, so they're automatically bad.
By the way, that's not true.
What's not true?
That's not true. It's not true that every single Soviet threat has been fabricated. The Cuban Missile Crisis was a real fucking thing. Korea was a real thing.
Did he say every single one?
Yeah.
Let me respect that.
And by the way, not for nothing, but like the foundations of the Cold War are valid. They start during just prior to World War II and continue through. They're not being done by people who are doing it for political reasons. They're doing it because they genuinely think this is a threat. Now, once you get after the Eisenhower administration, I would certainly come much closer to agreeing with him. But saying it's all black and white, that there aren't shades of gray in here, is really dangerous two-dimensional thinking.
All right, let me just replay that and make sure that's what he said, because that is the one I heard, but maybe that is what he said. We'll see.
The United States has created the image of a Soviet threat just for the same reason that they create an image of an American threat, as a way for us to justify intervention and aggression in our own domains. And in fact, if you look over the history of the Cold War, I think this is transparent. Take any incident of the Cold War, you know, from the American intervention in Greece in 1947 up to today in Nicaragua, and you will find that every single time a Soviet threat has been created and usually fabricated to justify American intervention. And incidentally, they play precisely the same game.
I think many people believe...
So you would disagree with that, but he's sitting...
Ardently.
Okay.
I mean, I would say that, yeah, a lot of the value of the threat has been overstated to basically appease the military-industrial complex or out of just sheer hysteria. But no, that's simply not true. There was an actual Soviet threat in a lot of instances, and I think to omit the Cuban Missile Crisis, an instance where it was an overt one, is very telling of his thesis.
Well, a point taken. I think his general thesis is correct when he says that, you know, what we build each other up and we use each other as a reason to further our aggression. I think that happens a lot. So the fact that it doesn't happen every single time.
The creation of enemies within and without is a standard political tactic that, by the way, has been mastered by Trump. So, you know, and by the way, the threat of Putin has been, Europe is like, yeah, we've been telling you this for over a decade. Putin is scaring the shit out of us. Putin is a scary guy. The fact that the Democrats are picking up on it right now may well be politically motivated, but people have been terrified of Putin for a very long time.
Yeah, I remember when Putin started bombing in Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, Libya, half the fucking Middle East, Northern Africa. Oh, no, he's not doing that. That's us.
You know, that's two-dimensional fucking thinking right there.
No.
That is, one can be true while the other is true.
Yes.
They are not, it's not binary.
Right. But Putin can be a... Well, he's going to...
Putin can be terrifying while we're terrifying. Both bad actors can coexist.
Right.
It isn't that the Democratic Party is bad and therefore Putin is good. He may well be the exact piece of shit hacker that everybody is saying. It just happens that the Democratic Party is picking up on it right now.
We're also the piece of shit hackers that we're claiming some other people are too.
We absolutely are. But it's not binary. It doesn't mean that those threats aren't real.
Okay. All right. He gets them right away.
Trying this, the Russians don't keep their promises.
We've known for a long time, and General Smedley Butler wrote in The War is a Racket that the reason why we go to war is so we can take a poorer country's natural resources and give it to a corporation. And that's what we did in the Banana Wars. That's why he wrote. So this. By
the way, that's why Trump is interested in opening up Russia again, is to make a profit there.
Oh, okay.
That's why all of his allies.
Why are we in Syria?
Within the Republican Party?
Is that a bad thing?
Huh?
Is that bad?
No, but you're pointing out that this is the basic doctrine of American foreign policy, which is to do things for profit. That is exactly what the Trump administration is doing in terms of its pursuit of some sort of new détente.
Nothing new there, though?
Is there something new there or something?
Because they have natural resources that we want.
Wrong. I think that the reason why we're not in Syria more deeply is because they don't have enough of what we want.
The reason why we are in Syria and have wanted to go to war in Syria since 2010 is because Saudi Arabia wants to put a pipeline through Syria and sell natural gas to Europe, and Syria doesn't want to because Putin doesn't want to have that because he sells the natural gas right now to Europe. That's why we're there. So again, it's all about fossil fuels. It's all about our economic interest. It's all about stuff like that. In fact, Saudi Arabia told the United States, hey, if you guys go and overthrow Assad, we'll pay for it. So again, this is what this is all about. And by the way, if you watch, I wanted to play that video. I got to find that video.
I just think if your paradigm is correct, we would be much more deeply involved in Syria. I get the feeling that actually
we dropped so many bombs in Syria, Robert. We ran out of bombs.
Right.
So I guess if we had more bombs, we'd get deeper in.
But boots on the ground is, I mean, if we really want that pipeline, we should have massive boots on the ground. And
so we don't want it. We're just fucking around.
Honestly think,
we're just fucking around dropping bombs over there until we run out.
Our country is of two minds, the same way Pakistan is of two minds, where there are factions within the government that are doing two different things. And I think that there are people just barely standing between us dropping bombs versus putting boots on the ground.
Well, it seems like Hillary Clinton was going to put boots on the grounds for sure. Donnie Tynahands doesn't want to because he's friends with Putin. And
the thing is like you're not going to get anything done if you're not willing to take the heat.
Yes,
if you're not willing to go for broke, then what do you think you're fucking doing? Honestly, what are you doing? And so
half measures is what they're doing, which leads us to Trump.
Right, and by the way, I don't even mind compromise within government. Our government is designed to be slow, but what's happened is that the Democratic Party will prematurely take the weaker position, and it's got to stop. This actual has to be a conversation between two policy positions, and so I'm a firm believer that every single incumbent Democrat in this country in the midterms needs to be primaried. And they may not need to be primaried sincerely. They may not need to be hit from their left, but they need to be primaried so that they have to return to actual policy positions.
The problem with that, Robert, is that they're still going to be beholden to their donors. And so that's the problem, right? So
where he's agreeing with David Letterman because he wants to get along with David Letterman and he doesn't want to alienate that audience.
Well,
because he's a fucking sociopath.
I'm just saying publicly the next president of the United States publicly stated that everybody, so a couple of millionaires or one billionaire and another 100 millionaire, David Letterman, are sitting around talking about how great healthcare is in other countries and how it's free. He goes, did you hear how crazy Letterman and Trump was last night talking about how healthcare is better in other countries? No one said that. Everybody just takes it. Yeah. So I just wanted to point that out, and we just accept that. No, it is better. And we're fucked. The
vast majority of people who come close to understanding what universal healthcare would agree with you. But a lot of people in this country have been who vote have been Jedi mind tricked into believing that there's a problem with universal health care. And a lot of the people within the government have been Jedi mind tricked into believing it's impossible to get done, and they're only going to spend so much political
I don't think people in the government have been Jedi mind tricked.
Let's not ascribe policy positions to Donald Trump.
Here he goes. Did you hear how crazy Letterman and Trump was last night talking about how healthcare is better in other countries? No one said that. Everybody just takes it. Yeah.
At the next midterms.
So, but what's happening right now, Robert, is
Cory Booker talks about teachers in the teachers union. They would never talk.
So that was Barack Obama. Why do I bring that up today?
Say, Jimmy, why'd you just bring that up?
Oh, I bring it up because I brought it up because of this, Robert. Senate torture report to be kept from public for 12 years.
He's just describing what we had before Obamacare. Right there. What he's describing is mandating hospitals to treat people who are indigent, and then the government refunds that money. He is describing what existed before Obamacare. He's not describing socialized medicine. He's a human piece of shit.
I know. I get it.
He knows nothing about which he speaks.
Well, we have to take him seriously now, Robert, because he's president of the United States and he will be implementing that policy. And you can't just keep saying he's an idiot. Well, he's an idiot who's going to be doing things. So now we have to take him seriously. You can't just keep dismissing him. He's 1/3 of the government.
You can dismiss Trump when he's just fucking talking. When he starts doing something, that's when you start worrying. He's just talking out his fucking ass.
But the point of this segment is to show you that Donnie Tinyhands has advocated. Everybody knows that all these things are better and that we should have it here in the United States. Like, there's Donnie Tinyhands and David Letterman sitting there, and the whole crowd is like, yep, we should have it. Here we go again, because I have my friend Robert Yasumura.
Well, first of all, that's not true, because the Republican, if you recall, the Republican Tea Party wave came in more as a reaction to George W. Bush than it did come into as a reaction to Obama, because what happened was that after Bush, everybody was saying, well, I'm not a Republican, I'm a Tea Party guy. And so all of a sudden there was this third party that was even more conservative and less interventionist, and basically claiming whatever they could just to say that they're not Bush appointees. So what you could have is just the Tea Party running from Trump, saying that, well, we're not traditional Republicans. We're against the president. We're for Republican ideals. Clearly, he's not. So that's not true that they necessarily would take the Senate. And remember that these are the majority of the country is deeply gerrymandered. So there is no way that Democrats are taking the House again in the foreseeable future. It's just not going to happen. They might take the Senate, but then matter of fact, I will virtually guarantee they will take the Senate no matter what. Just because of this election cycle, I think that they're going to take the Senate, because the Republican leadership has showed itself to be so badly run. Second of all, I do. You're wrong about the Supreme Court, because remember that Obama appointed Sonia Sotomayor and
that's
Elena
when he had
Kagan.
a Democratic Congress, right? So Hillary is not going to. If she comes in with the Republican Senate, she's going to do the same thing. She has to nominate someone that they will approve. And that's what Barack Obama's doing right here. He's like, if you don't approve him, this is someone you already guys like. He's right leaning. He was trying to embarrass them. I understand, but she's going to do the same thing. She's not going to be able to get a Sonia Sotomayor or a Kagan through this time, right?
I disagree, and I'll tell you why. I think that this year is unusual for them to filibuster this. I don't think that they can pull this off for much longer. You can't not approve somebody who is a qualified candidate. And remember that a Republican, this is just a known fact. Anybody who comes in as a Republican candidate has to be approved by the Federalist Society. That is just an unwritten rule that has been written in stone. And Federalist Society basically says to every president, you will nominate Supreme Court justices who will pledge to overturn Roe v. Wade. That's just a known thing. And I will say that there's going to be not just the Supreme Court nomination that's vacant now, but there's probably going to be 2 more in the next 4 years. There's probably going to be Ginsburg and Kennedy. Kennedy is the most important one that you want to get, because Kennedy is the swing vote.
So here's what I say to that. When you say that the Republicans aren't going to be able to get away with this filibustering stuff, you're underselling how crazy they are. Because if you remember, everybody said, hey, it's going to hurt you to impeach the president over this. And you had a bunch of pedophiles and wife cheaters and impeaching a guy for having an affair outside of his marriage, right? So they took a real hit in the polls for that, and they did it anyway. So you're forgetting that they all knew it was a loser to do it. They did. Just like the shutdown of the government. They all knew it was a loser. It's going to hurt them. They did it anyway. So I think you're saying
legally,
reasonable people wouldn't keep doing this, but they're not reasonable.
I think it's a legal issue because there is a point where if they keep denying a nominee, that they can be sued. It's constitutionally
So you're saying that
illegal
you think that the Republicans will cave before the Democrats, and I'm just going to have to agree to
No,
disagree.
Democrats will always cave first. That's
There
the
you
other
go.
thing is that I think that the notion that a Democratic Senate or a Democratic House, which isn't going to happen, but a Democratic Senate gives them any more power. Remember that even if you put together a strong coalition of Democrats, independents, and left-leaning Republicans, they're still going to be weak. They're still Democrats.
Okay.
They still can be held hostage. And then you've got that situation, plus you've got somebody who is insane.
Okay.
Who is running the government, who is an insane person, who clearly has shown a penchant for just shooting from the hip and not considering...
That's why I think that the opposition will be easy to build against him. It'll be easy to build coalitions against him for all those reasons. And so I hear what you're saying. They've heard what I've said. I disagree. I think it's just fear of Donald Trump. The guy, a lot of people say this. Cenk Uygur makes the point of how incompetent he is, which he is.
He's grossly incompetent.
People are always Trump. I always point to that. And then I point to Libya, and then I point for Syria. She calls for a no-fly zone, which means if Russia flies a jet over there, we're supposed to shoot them down and start World War III. But the people are still worried about Trump. That's the weird thing. It's like, well, we don't know what Trump's going to do. I know what Hillary's going to do. She's going to start another war.
By the way, that's not true.
What's not true?
This week, Russians bombed a UN convoy because there wasn't an agreement with the Russians to not fly during the ceasefire. So your assessment of that is inaccurate. There should have been an agreement with the Russians that we're not going to fly during the ceasefire.
You mean an agreement with the Russians for a no-fly zone?
Right.
That's different.
That's different. It's different than what she originally proposed. But right now, there need to not be jets with bombs in the air.
I also disagree in a sense. Yes, it would. In a perfect world, we would have a no-fly zone in the whole world, and so nobody would be dropping bombs on anyone. But here's why I bring this up, because Hillary Clinton, according to the International Business Times, she said that U.S. should use a military response to fight cyber attacks. That's pretty muscular. She says, here's what she said. We need to respond to evolving threats from states like Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, Clinton said in the speech. We need a military that is ready and agile so it can meet the full range of threats and operate on short notice across every domain. Not just land, not just sea, air, and space, but also cyberspace. Yeah, we need to spend more money on the military.
That's not what she's talking about, though. She's talking about cyber defense. She's talking about something that the Pentagon has been begging for, more money for cyber defense. We have incredibly soft targets in terms of cyberspace, in terms of our energy grid, our communications grid, tons and tons of records and pieces of information. We have very, very weak cyber defense, and Russia and North Korea have very, very robust cyber attack capabilities. What she's talking about is something that very reasonable people inside not only the Pentagon, but throughout the executive branch have been begging for. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with what she's saying. It's completely accurate.
Well, the point I'm making, not that she's wrong to advocate for cyber defense. Certainly, we need cyber defense, and you're right. My point is that she's got a muscular military response to everything, and she's not afraid to say it or do it. And people keep pointing to Trump like he's reckless. And here's another quote from her, Robert. As president, I will make it clear that the United States will treat cyber attacks just like any other attack. We will be ready with serious political, economic, and a military response. So it was enough for the International Business Times to point this out. I'm also recognizing it, and I'm also saying that she has got a military response for any problem.
You do understand that Trump's response would be bomb the shit out of them. What she's talking about is the three prongs that you use in international affairs, which are political, economic, and military. Those are the same things that go into even talking with the Dutch, for God's sakes. He would say, we're going to bomb the shit out of them. So I don't know that what you're saying is valid in terms of attacking Hillary Clinton.
What I'm saying, I guess you were, again, everything you're saying is correct. What I'm saying is that people who are, when Trump says we should bomb the shit out of them, she already has bombed the shit out of them. So that's the problem, right? She's already bombed the shit out of Iraq. She didn't call for prosecution of the people who ordered war crimes to cover up that war. She didn't call for that. She was a Secretary of State. She was a senator from New York. She already bombed the crap out of them. She was the instrumental in Libya happening. Also, she wanted a more muscular response to Syria than Barack Obama. So she always wants more. So the point of this is she likes military. She's not afraid of it. And it was enough for the International Business Times to point it out. I would use a military response to fight cyber attacks from Russia and China.
But you're making it sound like Trump wouldn't. Trump would do it
No,
first.
Trump would too. Also.
Do it first. No, he wouldn't just do it also. He would do it first.
Well, let me ask something
don't
to
know,
the gentleman
really.
here in the room. My little recollection of how when we attack another country, aren't we supposed to? Isn't there a certain process to this that includes Congress?
Not anymore.
Not necessarily.
Not anymore. Right. Right now, the Congress has usurped their power. They're supposed to only be the ones to declare war, but they passed this resolution for George Bush to go into Afghanistan, and we're still using that. They're still using that. Correct, Robert? Am I wrong about that?
But it's also a declaration of war, which is what you're talking about, which is the constitutional issue. Got circumvented basically in the Korean War, where you could the executive branch can go around it and say, well, this is a police action or it's part of a long-standing treaty we have. Like, there are any number of ways that a president can go around asking Congress for declaration of war or for authorization of war.
They can also just straight out lie at the UN to get support for it.
Well, yes. But the issue, one of the reasons why I think Hillary Clinton, and I don't agree with this, but one of the reasons why Hillary Clinton gets a little bit of slack on Iraq is because the implication was that if Bush wanted to go to war with Iraq, he could have just done it. He didn't need to go to Congress. The reason why he went to Congress, it seemed at the time, was to create a threat. To basically say, I have authorization for war if you don't step up, if you don't do what I want you to do. And so he seemed like he was creating a threat he could use in negotiations with Iraq. What he actually, in point of fact, was doing was saying, I'm going to go to war with these fucking people and I just want a blank check for it. But a lot of people in Congress didn't know that that's what he was doing. They thought it was a negotiating tactic to basically put the military clearly on the line. All she's doing is reiterating what's been policy forever, which is mutually assured destruction. She's basically saying Iran has nukes. If they launch a nuke at Israel, they will be melted. And that's been standing policy pretty much since nuclear war has existed. So I don't see what she's saying. I don't particularly like what she's saying, but I don't see that she's saying anything that every administration since Truman has said about. That's an interesting thing because it's a separation of powers issue that's very similar to the issue that the mayor of New York has with the New York City Police Department, where it's like, I can't fuck these guys because they'll come back and fuck me three times more. And so I think that Obama's in an impossible position in that instance where he's like, I can't not defend them because if I don't have the CIA, the support of the CIA, I'm really screwed. And he's not wrong.
I
But
disagree.
it
know
to
I
me, it looks like
disagree.
an infrastructure issue.
I disagree with that.
I understand, like
Okay.
you're, but I'm
could,
saying
Obama's supposed to run the CIA. He's not supposed to take orders from the
He
CIA.
could try doing what's right and see if the American people support that.
Yeah, he could try that once.
Yeah.
And if those guys at the CIA are going to fuck with him, then the CIA is running this goddamn country, Robert, and that's why he needs to fire whoever is running the CIA.
I understand what you're saying. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm saying that there is something inherently infrastructurally wrong under those circumstances where it would be impossible for the executive to go against the CIA.
I disagree with you. I hear what you're saying, but I just 100% that's wrong.
By the way, I also think it's very strange that they said point blank, we're going to keep this report at the Obama Library. I immediately flashed on, that's an American Treasure, the sequel. That's a sequel to the. I was like, someone's got to steal that. That's
National Treasure.
National
Yeah.
Treasure.
National Treasure.
Starring Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, that would be a vehicle for Nicolas Cage.